Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the 2023 Bionicle Day Q&A live stream. I will be your host this year, Mohio, and I am joined by three very wonderful guests. I am joined by Gid, the head of the project. I am joined by Obsidian, who is our visual director, and I am joined by Shadow, who is our scripting director. If in that order you could all just say hello. Starting with Gid.
I've been locked in a closet for 30 days.
Excellent. Who put Git in my closet? Shad, why are you so quiet? I don't know.
He knows what he did.
Oh, okay. You just had really high gain before, so I just turned you down. Okay. Alright. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Pleasure to be here once again.
Let us know if there are any adjustments that need to be made for the audio so that you can hear us as best as possible. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties trying to get everything set up for today, and we would want to make sure that we can increase the quality of the experience for all of you here. All right. Let's get to the fun stuff. The questions and the answers. Now, I bet many of you have just come from the animatic that we just premiered, and were able to see Kopaka and Matoro come up against a Nui Rama on a bridge over in Kauai. Of course, I bet you're also wondering if there will be any future animatics that maybe you might see in Bionicle Day 2024 or 25 or any of that kind of stuff in the future. Well, Gid, if you would like to take this question first.
You know, Mohio, I've got to deliver all the most optimistic answers. No.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the animatics are very resource intensive, requiring many people to be working on the storyboard and coloring together. They also require a lot of fine tuning and polishing, and for something that is, for the most part, usually seen as an intermediary for our uh, actual final animation of the project, which is going to be in 3D. We found it was not the best usage of our resources to dedicate to make further animatics.
We'll still be storyboarding in the background, obviously. It's just that the storyboards that we use in-house tend to be a lot rougher and a bit less I mean, I'm sure you saw with how Kopaka jumped for the Nui Rama and stabbed it through the eye. There would not be anywhere near that many frames for an in-house storyboard. That was largely for presentation purposes.
Exactly.
So that sort of stuff is still going to be happening in the background, but just less animatic public stuff.
Yeah. And I think that kind of segues perfectly into a question that was given to us by Jamie Lee over in our Discord server. And if you would like to ask questions there, you can. And you can find our Discord over in our link tree, which is linktr.ee/Project Iliad. and you'll be able to find all of our links, including social media, Discord, and you'll be able to come join the little community that we've kind of started to foster. There'll be many, many shameless plugs throughout this event. So I hope you're prepared. But speaking of Jamie Lee's question, he asks, how much progress has been made on the main project since the last Bionicle Day livestream last year? Obsidian, would you like to take that question?
Oh, I would very much like to take that question. There's been a lot of exciting stuff that's been happening in the project since last year. We've been building up our visual department more and more. We've got a few storyboarders actually working on storyboards right now. And I believe we might have mentioned this a few other places, but we are sort of reaching the point where we could start thinking about putting together a rough edit for episode 1 in the near future that we could use internally to act as kind of a skeleton for when we start the 3D animation proper for episode 1. We are also hoping to get our first scene animated fully in 3D in Blender in the near future. Well, nearish future. We're kind of still needing to get some pieces together, and if we want to get there faster, the best way that we can do that is if we have more environment modelers and animators to be able to work on that faster.
We have another question that kind of ties in
That's
to that. Is how many animators are working on the project right now? Suffice it to say, we have currently no full-time animator animating on the project, but we have several part-time animators who come and go and who are on and off in terms of animating our scenes. We are looking to bring on more animators. And so if any of you know yourself or somebody else who has animation skills or works in Blender, we would love to have you join us on the project. And we would love to help you to see this project continue to grow. Our animators that we do have are very skilled, but like many on the project, we have real life, long-term commitments, and so it makes a lot of progress slow going as always.
But yeah, I mean, if you were to come onto the project, you would have a fairly decent base to be working off. As I say, we've been working on storyboards recently, and so there would be a lot of visual work that you could get started on right away with the basis that the storyboards create. And the environment modeling, I would say, is probably our main barrier to just starting animation outright at this point. Because we've got the character models, we have all the voice acting done for the first episode. We just need actual places to put them in, so that we can do the animation itself. And we've been... With a project like this, we usually have people wearing many different hats and taking many different roles. So we have attempted to hack away at an environment model with our own resources. But the more people that we have to help out with that, the merrier, and the quicker that we'll be able to bring something out to show you guys.
I have another question from the YouTube side of things. Welcome Crew. He asks, what software do you use for the 3D animation? And the answer to that one's fairly simple. We currently use Blender to model and animate the show. He asks also what hardware tends to work best with Blender, which the animators prefer to use. I'm not quite sure what you mean by hardware, if you mean like computer or desktops or laptops. Usually you're going to require a very well built desktop and a pretty high intensive graphics card to be able to render out the animations that you've made, because they can be very intensive on both your computer and your graphics card. And I know that there have been instances in general, not in the project, but in general, of people's computers burning out because of trying to render something, because of how intensive some of that stuff can be.
Yeah, no. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. We're kind of looking into render farm stuff to help lighten some of that load, but even the stuff that you've got in the viewport, sometimes, depending on how many objects you've got in the scene, it will take a hit to your FPS. And your fan's going to start going like crazy. So you need a pretty beefy computer to deal with it. The old EV cycles question.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. We have a question from Udron. Just out of curiosity, which rendering engine do you use? Cycles or Eevee? Would you like to answer that one, Obsidian?
We've definitely gone back and forth on that one. I'm kind of trying to remember where we actually land on that side of the discussion right now. Because with...
I believe that last time we had discussed it, we were leaning towards cycles. However, good arguments have been made for both render engines, and since we're still in such an early phase of animation, we are open to either one.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of very much the trade-off between the two of, do you want something that can render fast, or do you want something that can render very high quality?
And obviously, a lot of that will impact how the show ends up looking, whether things end up being more detailed or whether we go for a different artistic approach. If there's someone, an animator, who wants to join the project and prefers one over the other, we are willing to have a discussion about which one to use.
I have a question that I think I'll pass off to Gid and then Shadow respectively, since they're more of our lore enthusiasts in the project. This question comes from Udron Micros in the YouTube chat just a little bit back. Just wondering, do you think that the non-Matoran societies could have used some more development, like making Skakti into more than just a bunch of malicious brutes and maniacs?
Ooh.
Well, I feel like certain ones definitely could have used a lot more, and other ones were so underdeveloped that there's no real direction to take them in. Like the species that attacked the fortress that Lee Khan was set to guard as a Toa, as an early Toa. I can't remember that. Frostalus. That's right. They have absolutely no development whatsoever. We don't know anything about them, except the fact that they hate people and they're ugly. Just like me. Other ones, such as, I feel like a Zyglak society would be extremely interesting to look into. Skakti society. There's a lot of room for extra
Personally,
development of other people outside of the Matoran and Toa in the main portion of the universe.
Definitely the societies on Stelt and Zia could easily have used a lot more than just what we were given. So, for example, with Zia, they're a purely industrial society. Okay, but can we get a little bit deeper into that? Why are they purely industrial? What brought them to that point? There's a lot that we could have gone, or that could have been gone into, that we personally may want to look at should we get that far. But that's a topic for later on down the line.
Yeah, a lot of that is definitely quite far out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the time being at least, we're definitely focusing on making the first 3 years worth of story as good as we can. And obviously backing that up visually as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question slightly related to that, I think, which you can kind of see based on the previous answers. Comes from E. Here's a question: is it all 2001 to 2003, or does the later canon cameo too? I think in
I'm not
terms of
really sure what.
yeah, in terms of season 1, it's going to just be 2001 through 2003. However, we endeavor, keyword there, to be able to go through the whole entire main Bionicle storyline, with some of the serials being included as well, if they fit into the story we're trying to tell.
As well as trying to make sure that even if, like, for example, we're not obviously going to have Rudaka in 2002, but we're trying to do our best to pay respects to the rest of the broader universe as a whole, as opposed to just saying this is the only part of the story that we're going to focus on. We can allow little bits of the lore to poke through and show where, for example, like the Matoran developed this part of their society, why, and giving a little more backstory on some of those things, but it's not going to be major leaps of, oh, hey, there was this island Zia. Yeah, very minor, I suppose, cameo references to things, but nothing huge.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we're really going to benefit from with the storyline going forward, and we've already kind of started to lean into that in some of the later arcs that we've been writing in the scripts, is just the benefit of hindsight of where the story is going to go. And so, knowing that the whole Metro Nui arc was going to be happening, and the Turaga are not all that they seem, and they have all of these secrets, that's a theme that is built on from a lot earlier than we see in canon. And it was, the seeds for it were planted earlier on, but a lot of that is going to come to a head in Mask of Light, is the hope.
I think kind of on
So,
the similar thing, we have another question from Udron, which I'll kind of address myself. If you do the first 3 years, will you also redo Mask of Light? And if so, will you rewrite Takua and Takanuva? It's a great question. One of the things we've been doing currently is we're currently in the process of rewriting the Mask of Light arc. We're planning on doing everything, even anything that's been covered so far by the movies, comics, novels, etc. If it fits in the storyline, we're going to try to tackle it. And so currently what we've been doing is writing the Mask of Light storyline. We just got through some of the Coley tournament stuff that you see at the beginning of the movie. And I think we adapted in a way that is both fun, exciting, and has a couple of surprises based on some of the characters that have existed beforehand, and making sure people get to see something fun. And the topic of Takua, we have been taking a slightly different direction with Takua, just simply because of the fact that for the first time he appears, Takua appears in Monog, and he's more a surrogate for the audience or the players of the game. And what that looks like is you have he doesn't know anything. He is very much his dialogue are options catered towards learning information about what's going on. And so we've done a lot of work into trying to make him a cohesive character from when he first appears in episode 2 of the show and throughout the rest of the season, making sure they're both consistent, further developed, and interesting look into who Takua is and what Takua's destiny will become.
Definitely have a
He's
lot
definitely
of
got a slightly different trajectory than you would anticipate from the original Mask of Life film.
Yeah.
Just because of the extra development that we've given him as kind of a core character of the cast pretty much from the beginning of the story.
And I think that
Yeah.
the same could be said for pretty much all the other characters in the show. We've spent a lot of time because at this point, with Mask of Light, you're like 7 or 8 hours into the show. And so you've seen these characters grow and develop and change. They've gone through different trials and triumphs, and all of the characters get more development than what you will see in the novels. One of the, I think, most fun things that we've gotten to do is we've taken all of the Chroniclers Company, the ones that you would see in Monog, and given them more screen time and more development as friends of Takua and members of their own Koros in their own right.
Yeah. It's definitely
Yeah.
it's a difficult job just balancing the cast because it's so large, but we do try to give everyone a decent bit of time. Obviously the Toa get a fair bit more just because they're sort of in the middle of the action most of the time, but a fair few of the Matoran get their chance in the spotlight as well.
I think there's another question here from Crew over on the YouTube. Favorite Bionicle character, hero and villain?
Oh boy.
We'll start with Gid, then we'll go Shadow, then we'll go Obsidian, and then I'll round it off.
I'll start. You know what? Actually, let's make Gid start. It's been a while. We actually had this question from the last questions in the first Iliad Q&A. From forever ago. For villains, I would say probably Zaktan, because, and I feel, unfortunately, very underdeveloped villain, which is kind of sad, but he stood out from the other Paraka because of his motivations and his connection to Makuta, and that was, we really should have seen more of him. I wish he was there in 2007 as more of an antagonistic force, because there's a lot of good potential with him that we didn't get. And from a favorite hero character, I think I'm going to stick with the same answer I gave in the first Iliad livestream, and that is Solek. And the reason why Solek is because for many of us in the Bionicle community have grown up with Bionicle. We got into it when we were kids, it was a large part of our lives, and we remember it fondly now. And Solek kind of feels like the epitome of the innocent Bionicle fan. He looks up to Kopaka, he adores Kopaka. If there were Kopaka sets in the Bionicle story, he would buy every single one of them and maybe multiple copies. And he was also not given a whole lot of time in the books. Should have had more. But what we did get from him was a very apprehensive but extremely hopeful character that almost put Takua to shame just because of how optimistic he was all of the time. Even as Makuta Mutrin is beating the crap out of Kopaka, he still feels that there's hope and that he can intervene. And I feel that that's not only a very excellent representation of a lot of people's experience growing up with Bionicle and their imaginations with it, but also mirrors some of my own experiences with Bionicle as well. So Solek, character-wise, set-wise, character-wise, favorite heroic character in the whole series.
Shadow?
Yeah. So let's see. We'll start with my favorite, I guess. Yeah, villain. Let's go with villain. I've actually kind of piggybacking off a little of one of the characters that Gid brought up, Makuta Mutran. Maybe it's because he had a whole serial dedicated to him, but I feel that he had some of the most in-depth character development for any of the Makuta, including Pterodax. And some of his insight into the universe as a whole really kind of helps shed some light on not just him, but a lot of the things that the Toa didn't get involved with. And you get to see a little bit more of the nuance of how the Makuta worked as villains and their role in everything. And so I really like where Mutran was able to bring us through the story from a perspective that we wouldn't get from any of the Matoran or the Toa. And then favorite hero, I question whether or not this one counts as hero, because this particular character has walked the line between hero and villain before. It is Brutaka. I like that he's more the introverted scholar who has served both the Order of Matanui and the Brotherhood of Makuta at various points in his life. But he's also someone who had a confliction with where he stands in the universe, and he's not a 100% good guy. He's not a 100% bad guy. He's someone who has been able to see both sides and come at everything from a logical standpoint. But we also see that he has, like, he's not just pure logic. He has a bit of a fun side to him as well. Noted when he dropped a Tatorak right in the middle of Metronui just for fun once. So it's nice to see that we can have some of those kind of morally gray characters who know where they stand and also have that ability to have a good time while doing it, regardless of which side they're on. So I love Brutaka in that regard.
Obsidian?
Who's next?
Yeah, this has kind of already been mentioned in the chat a bit, but my favorite character is kind of both. Vaison is arguably a villain, but he is also played in some heroic roles, largely due to circumstance. And it's kind of mostly vibes, to be honest. Like, the guy is just chaotic neutral in every way that you can say chaotic neutral. He doesn't really have that much allegiance to anyone aside from himself, and he's just kind of a meme. He doesn't really he doesn't really care, like, about the major stakes that are going on in the universe. He's just in his own little world having a great time, and I respect that. I vibe with that.
Oh gosh. I didn't have this question ready for an answer, which is why I delayed by giving it to everyone else. I guess we'll start with the hero. I think as I've gone on and ridden more of the series, I've come to find Kopaka my favorite hero. We've developed him in a very interesting manner, and he has become more than just the stone cold wall of ice, the loner character type, and I think just because of that, I've really learned to appreciate the character that he is and his powers and what he's capable of doing in canon and what we've managed to get out of him from the show. There's a really cool moment upcoming with Tahu and Kopaka Nuva where they both get to really shine. I would say for the villain, I would probably say the Shadowed One. I think it's really cool that you get this mob boss type villain throughout the series who is accumulating power and sending out agents as mercenaries and making sure that they can do as many things as possible to earn money and build this just great powerhouse. And I think it was a shame that besides 2005, I think, he doesn't really get to do a ton outside of the serials. And he gets to be one of those characters that you see in like BSO1 as a footnote that says the Shadowed One evacuated the Great Spirit robot along with the other inhabitants of the Matoran universe. And I think it's a shame that we didn't get to see more of what this character and his empire was capable of. All right, I saw. Let me see if I can find it. Yes. Will you also hint that Vakama isn't always honest about what actually happened in Metro Nui? Or will you change that too? If the answer is too much of a spoiler, then skip this one. Obsidian?
What? What? No. Vakama's always honest, guys. When has he ever not been honest?
Yeah, we've been playing a lot with the whole Taraga no more than they let on theme, and that's almost certainly going to be continued as we move into writing season 2, because we are hoping to, just from the sake of the pacing of how the show is going to be, we can't just drop all of the characters from the first season for like a whole season and be like, yeah, these guys are gone now, we've got this new cast. So there is going to be a bit more involvement just from the story being told and our characters having questions. And Vakama not always being totally truthful about what's going on would very much aid that. So I'm not going to say for sure or anything, but it's definitely possible.
I think on a similar note, you really get to start seeing Vakama become more of this character that isn't entirely honest with everybody in the Borak saga, where the Toa have to come face to face with this new threat. Vakama reveals that he's seen or heard of this threat, and the Toa start to become a little dubious of what Vakama knows and what he's not telling them, and what else Vakama could be hiding behind that mask of his.
I have another question. Uh-oh.
Oh,
Two
yeah,
questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. This question is actually one from a little while ago. What is your favorite part of the animatic? The one that we just put out? I guess Mohio? You can go ahead and start us off with that.
Fine, you're getting revenge, aren't you? Kind of prepared some of these beforehand, and so for me, my favorite part about the animatic is that moment where you see, and see, let me see if I can bring it up on screen. Is that moment where Kopaka jumps into the air and lands? Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. I'm really bad at running a live stream, guys. I promise. I practice.
Oh no.
There we go. This one where Kopaka jumped through the air. I think that was a really cool moment of both both for the animatic as a single frame and almost like just a highlight of almost this interaction between animatic and animation, and it creates this sense of like flow where you see Kopaka just jumping to reach for the new Irama. Kit, what was your favorite moment?
Oh, I was going to do Obsidian next.
Oh, Obsidian, go.
Okay, fine. Yeah, no, I think probably my favorite part of the animatic is less so a moment and more just in the visual side of things. The way that the bridge turned out was just really nice. Of course, we had some wonderful concept art from Dog Paladin that conceptualized the bridge initially, with those pillars on either side with Kopaka's faces engraved on them, and Inactivist did a really good job bringing that to life as well. And the way that the ice on the bridge itself turned out was also really great. Good work all
Shadow?
around, visually speaking.
Me next.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So for me, I actually kind of gonna backpack off of what Obsidian just said, but I thoroughly enjoyed. So it's one thing to be on the scripting side of things, seeing everything come together as line after line after line, but then to actually see it coming together as the storyboards are being done, and then the all the various bits and pieces of layering are added to see the whole drawing come to life, watching the bridge take shape. It's that part's been fun, but then to top it all off, the icing on the cake has just been to hear all those words that we've been typing out over these past years now, just to hear those words finally coming out of the characters, finally in some form. It has been a joy to see that happen. And of course, our brilliant voice actors have done a phenomenal job in bringing, especially these two, Kopaka and Matoro, to life. Yeah.
It's my turn, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh dear. Well, personally,
Unfortunately, yes.
personally, my favorite shot as one of the people who did a lot of the coloring for this animatic, my favorite shot is the one with the Among Us.
Oh no.
There's a particular frame. He was explaining this the other day, and I was like, now I need to see it. And it's this frame, I think, where Kopaka's landing on the other side of the crevasse, and then you see this. There's just this Among Us for the entire shot, just there in the background, and I'd completely missed it after the 50 odd sometimes I had to watch it to be able to go for closed captioning.
Oh god, I see it now too! No! It's on the rock to the right. Oh God. You sneak.
We do a
He's
little
very-
trolling.
He's very.
We have we have another question from Leo Zandar in the Iliad Discord server Q&A chat, who says, "Who is the handsomest Iliad project member?"
Me.
I hear.
Anyone object?
I hear no objections. So I guess this is now canon.
Thank you very much.
The
I will
jury is
be
unanimous.
releasing my OnlyFans later today.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, we got to make the money somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really putting my body on the line for this.
Speaking of bodies, we have had a complaint.
Excuse me?
Don't worry, don't worry. We've had a complaint about the designs for the characters and that they're not accurate to canon. And I want to apologize as the main guy behind the designs for the Toa, Matoran, and that's probably it. This is my fault. I took full responsibility for this, and we at Bionicle Iliad have scoured canon, looked over all the visual references, namely the first issue of the comic and nothing else, to determine the absolute canon accurate depiction for the characters. And I'm happy to announce we here at Bionicle Iliad have released the brand new model for comic accurate Kopaka.
He very small head boy.
As you can see, this Kopaka has a head exactly accurate to his depiction in the final frame of the original Bionicle comic. And for those interested, we also have instructions to build your very own small head Kopaka, which shows you detailed steps on how to achieve the canon accurate look with your own Iliad Kopaka. We here at Bionicle Iliad have been working very hard behind the scenes on this, and we hope you enjoy.
Somewhat pertinent question from Simon in the YouTube chat. Is it too late to join the project? Project Iliad. No. We're always more than happy to accept new members to the team because there is a lot of stuff to do, especially on the visual side of things.
If you can draw, if you can animate, please do.
Yeah. Animation, modeling, concept art and storyboarding are still growing, and we're looking to grow that more. Even more back-end stuff like social media or marketing or graphic design, anything that you can bring to the table would be greatly appreciated. The main thing that we're generally not accepting at the moment is script writers, because that is a very full house already, and we've got a process that works quite well for that, and we're not really looking to add any more cooks to that kitchen.
Speaking of which, if you did not know how to join Bionicle Iliad, the crew, you may go to our Discord found in our link tree, which is linktr.ee/Project Iliad. That's linktr.ee/Project Iliad. I told you there would be many shameless plugs.
We have another question here from Carlo Denega. I hope I pronounced that right. I am an American and am therefore very stupid. Serious question. As someone, and this is on the Discord server, by the way, as someone who may or may not want to get back into actually building Lego, will you be releasing more instructions for Iliad characters? If at all possible, yes. I will not guarantee it because our ultimate goal is to have the characters work, in theory, and look fantastic on screen. If that means we have to use pieces and colors that they do not come in, unfortunately, that's what we'll go with, as you can see for the rest of the Toa Mata. So far, Kopakas are only buildable Toa, and buildable model in general. The more talented Makis that we have that can follow the Iliad design, the more models we can produce, and hopefully the more models we can create instructions for and release to the general public. But yeah, if you're watching and you wanted to join the project to show off your mocking skills and maybe help with some of the character building for the show, join the Discord. You can find all the assets you need to sign up for the project there.
Gid.
And you can access the Discord through our link tree at link.tr/project Iliad.
Of course. Gid, will there be other instructions for the other Toa?
Well, here's the thing. If we release, you have to understand that the other Toa that we currently have cannot be built physically. The colors of pieces needed to build some of those Toa, you can see simply from the posters of them, they don't exist. Which is a shame, because it would be super awesome to have all 6 Toa built. But LEGO doesn't produce some of those pieces in those colors, or some of those pieces at all. They haven't produced them for decades. Now, if we do release other instructions for the Toa, it will have to come with the proviso that they cannot be built in the state in which they are presented in the instructions, and I don't want people being confused. So, could we release more instructions for the Toa? Maybe. If it's understood, these ones can't exist in the form we're showing you.
Of course, you can always paint some pieces, but
Get out. Get out. Leave the call. Get out.
Nope, you're fired. Bye. Nope.
Yep.
Outside of heresy, though, there's some. If this is something that you are indulgent, I'm not. I'm a good Christian boy. But if you want to find bootleg pieces in those colors, have at it. We'd love to see your results on what you build based off the Kapaka design, modifying to look more of the other Toa, coming up with your own original creations. If you'd like to make your own creations based off the design, go for it. Tag us in the results.
great. I think we should take 2 to 3 more questions and then kind of start wrapping it up.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of questions this time around, actually. It's
For
refreshing.
people who are wondering if we're wrapping it up, we're going to be done. We'll still be on our Discord in a call where we are right now, playing fun with all the other people in the server in Gartic Phone. So if you want to join in that, go ahead and join the server and hop in the general VC chat.
Let's
Yeah,
take
which questions do
this
we
one
want? Quite a
from
collection.
Makutros. Will Makuta be more consistent throughout the stories? How do you try to handle the mythological aspects and the science fiction ones in this interpretation of the Bionicle world?
Ooh.
Obsidian, do you want to take this?
Yes, I really want to take this question. This is a very fun part of conceptualizing season 1 that we've been putting a decent amount of focus into. The answer is yes, we are trying to make him more consistent across the board in how he presents himself and how his motivations seem to come across. It does skew in some ways towards his later characterization as a manipulative schemer, but also it does encapsulate that feeling of being a force of nature that is beyond the control of a lot of the characters, even compared to some of his fellow Makusa. He's just quite an intimidating threat because of how we're looking at trying to conceptualize his powers. Can't get into too much detail because it's still all a bit up in the air, but we are hoping to make him a force to be reckoned with in that regard. But generally speaking, the air that he puts on of knowing everything and feeling like this inevitable force is going to be there. And the reasons for that will become clear as things unfold, hopefully. And I think especially one of the aspects of Makuta's character that I am most excited to develop is just that he kind of has a point. Because on the one hand, this is him fueling his ego and his desire to have control over things, but at the same time, Matanui was not doing the best job at looking after the Matoran universe. And so the initial seed of doubt of him looking at that whole situation and going, I could do a better job than him, is kind of correct. And I think there's a lot of complexity that could be weaved out of people seeing his side of the argument and coming to similar conclusions and potentially being led astray by that temptation to take the reins.
Also, I think one of the things that we've aimed to do throughout the script writing process is constantly go back to one of the fundamental ideas that was thought of when the whole product line was being conceived and the story ideas were being generated, was this concept of your body failing you and your body being taken down by a cancer from within. And there's something so unnatural and something so horrifying about this concept of having all of your cells turn against you and being completely incapable of seeing yourself be able to survive because your body is turning against you. And we want to kind of highlight that through the way we handle Makuta, is that he is this cancer that spreads and corrupts and takes over and slowly destroys everything around him.
The
Oh,
questions are still coming thick and fast.
we have. I think we'll take one more question before we wrap up, and this one's gonna be good.
Oh
From
my.
Domino, will Akmal finally get the villain arc he deserves as Makuta's puppet and not just his mailman?
Yes!
Yes, he will. Oh, you guys are going to be in for a treat.
Akmal will hurt and be hurt. Rest assured.
Yeah, Arkmal's a slimy little bugger in this.
We can't reveal anything that Akmal does or has happened to him, but I assure you, there will be lots of shenanigans, and you will not only love him, you'll love to hate him as well.
Yeah, no. Arkmal is a very fun character to write. I know one of our other script writers, Animata, especially enjoys writing him quite a lot, just because he's so much of a little snake.
All I'm saying, episode 5 is a game changer.
Yeah, episode 5 kind of goes hard.
I don't know, guys. I feel like Akmal presents a lot of warmth in that one.
You guys will get it eventually.
And with that being said, this has been a wonderful Iliad Q&A live stream. Thank you all for joining. We were so happy to have you all here. Wonderful questions you had. If any of you would like to join the Discord server and have fun with Gardic Phone, talking to the rest of Iliad cast, or just hanging around, checking out the server, possibly joining the project, then go ahead and click the link to the Discord in our link tree. With that being
Want to
said,
give us the link tree again, Moyo?
one more time.
linktr.ee/Project Iliad. That's linktr.ee/Project Iliad.
And in that link tree, you can find ways to support us, as well as all of our social media, and of course, the Discord server.
Now, I'm sure you're all wondering about what's next for the project, right? If we're not doing an animatic next, what's the next thing that's going to come out? Gid?
Well, it's not going to be me because I'm still stuck in this stupid closet in Shadow's house, and it's locked. Help, I'm running out of oxygen. There's a gas leak. Oh, wait, the question. Well, in regards to what we have coming out next, a lot of our supporters on Ko-fi, Coffee, however you say it, have been treated to some wonderful behind-the-scenes content of what we've got going on in Iliad. And while a lot of it is still there to come out, and is still going to be shown as we continue to progress in the project, a lot of our older stuff, which has since become public in terms of animatic processes, concept art for the animatics, will be presented to the public in coinciding with the releases of more Ko-fi behind-the-scenes content. So whenever you get a behind-the-scenes Ko-fi post, you will get an older post detailing some of the work that went into what has already been put out.
And Obsidian, besides wonderful behind-the-scenes content, what can we expect in the future of Bionicle Iliad?
Well, if all goes well, we're hoping to have an animated scene, a properly 3D animated scene, mind you, ready to show off in the foreseeable future. Can't really put a date on it yet, because there's definitely a lot of factors at play still. But it's something that we've got in the pipeline.
Oh, and by the way, if you're watching the live stream right now, here's a little sneak preview of what that scene will look like. Once again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for showing up to this live stream and asking so many questions that more than what we were expecting to be able to answer in this short period of time. So we hope you take the ones that weren't answered and save them for a future Q&A, which we hope to do more of these a little more often. But beyond that, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see some of you in our Discord server for Gardic Phone. And as we close out, we'll leave you once again with the animatic, if you haven't seen it yet, to see Matoro and Kopaka fight a new Ijaga. Thank you again all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
How much further?
Just past this crevice. We have yet to finish building the bridge across, though. It's going to be in your honor.
Save your efforts. I can manage it myself.
Really? We don't have time!
We can spare a few seconds. Safe.
Oh, cars!
That was easy.
If there's one thing I know about Nui Rama, they never know when to quit.
No. Now, where were we?